How's everybody doing today? All right, hey, it's great to see all of you, and I want to take a second and welcome those of you who are joining us from our campuses, as well as those who are watching through Ada Bible Church online. If we haven't met, my name is Aaron. I'm the Student Ministries pastor here at Ada Bible Church, and one of my favorite parts of my role here at Ada are times like this when I get to open the scriptures with all of you, and so I'm just really looking forward to continuing this series, Reason to Believe, in our time together today. And I want to start with P90X, okay? So go ahead and stand up, start stretching out. We're gonna do this thing. No, not really. I wanna talk about P90X, but who's ever tried one of these workout videos? Yeah, okay, quite a few of you. And how many of you actually completed this thing? Okay, just a handful, just a few. I actually did this, okay? I actually completed the whole thing. And those of you who are watching at our campuses and online are like, he doesn't look like he did P90X. Listen. The camera adds pounds, okay? Just keep that in mind. But I actually did this thing, and it's incredibly difficult, challenging, but I did it, wrapped it up. It was a few years ago, and then I started another one called Insanity. Who's heard of this one, right? The name is accurate. I couldn't do it. I completed the whole P90X in the very first video of Insanity. I didn't even finish it. It was so hard. But we do this. We have these workout videos. Maybe you don't do P90X or Insanity, but I bet in your home somewhere there are some workout videos hidden somewhere. We all buy these things. It's like a million dollar business. Just tons of money is being made off of workout videos because people like me and people like you, we buy these things and we try them. And maybe for you, it's not workout videos, but it's diets. Right? It's the Atkins, South Beach, Paleo, Whole 30, 30 Rock diet, all these different diets that we try, usually around January 1st, try for a couple weeks, and then we realize, kale is disgusting, and I'm gonna go back to my regular life. But we do this, we try different diets, we try different workouts, and maybe for you it's none of those things, but it started with this little storage area in the basement of your first apartment. And you filled it up with your stuff, and then you got your first house, and you filled up the basement of the house with your stuff, and then you started putting stuff in the garage, and then you needed a shed, and then it's like a storage unit, and now there's this pole barn, and now your kids are saying, man, if anything ever happens to mom and dad, what are we gonna do with all this stuff? And the funny thing is, the things that are in that pole barn, almost every single one of them, at some point in our life, it was like, man, I gotta have that thing. And if I can just have that thing, that's gonna make my life better. Why do we do these things? What are we looking for? What are we searching for when we buy these things and try these different ways of making our lives better? Well, the reason I bring up this stuff is because the story that we're gonna be looking at in the Bible today, it's about these two young men, Philip and Nathanael, and they're pretty dissatisfied with what's going on in life around them. They're really unhappy with what's going on in their world, and so they're looking for something. They're searching for something that they believe can fix the problems in their lives. And our story takes place in the Gospel of John. And so if you're new to the Bible is broken up into two parts. You have the Old Testament, the Jewish scriptures, and then the New Testament. This is a table of contents for the New Testament. First four books here, we call them the Gospels. It's just a word that means good news. And these are the historical accounts of Jesus' life written from four different eyewitness perspectives. And our story today, if you want to follow along, it's in the Gospel of John, and it's in chapter 1. Now, the story begins at a river like this, because Jesus has just been baptized in the Jordan River. And this is a big moment in his life, because this signals the beginning of his public life, his public ministry. Pretty soon, he's going to be incredibly popular. Huge crowds following him wherever he goes. But where we find him today, he has a whopping 3 followers. That's it. A guy by the name of John, who wrote the Gospel of John, and another young man named Andrew. And these two guys were disciples of John the Baptist, the one who just baptized Jesus. And when they met Jesus, they immediately jump ship and start following Jesus. And then the third is Andrew's brother, Simon Peter. And something that I've always found very curious about the gospel stories, and maybe you've had this thought as well, is what's up with these guys? When Jesus calls them, they just drop everything immediately and they start following him. You know, John and Andrew, they're like, we'll see you later, John the Baptist, we're with Jesus now. Simon Peter, he leaves his family fishing business. These guys just drop everything immediately and they start following Jesus. What's up with that? Because we wouldn't do something like that, most likely, just leave everything. I think the reason is that they were waiting for somebody like Jesus. They were looking for somebody like Jesus. They were searching. And it's the same with these two guys we're going to be looking at, Philip and Nathanael, because these their paths are going to cross with this other three and Jesus very shortly in our story. These guys are searching. And so I want to have a conversation today about how we're looking around for something and how we're searching for something to fill us and kind of make us feel fulfilled. And we joke around about workout videos and diets and stuff, but the truth is, I think this is a significant issue for so many of us. It is hard to live a fulfilling life in this culture where we're just bombarded with messages every day. This is what you should look like. This is what you need to make you happy. This is what your life should be like. And we're just bombarded with these messages. And I just believe that some of us sitting here today are just in a season where life just does not feel fulfilling. And we're just not in a place where we thought we would be, and maybe we just don't feel like we have the value that we thought we would at this point. And for others, this has been a lifelong struggle of searching, trying to fill up that emptiness. And still others, we would call ourselves Christians. We've known about Jesus. We've been in church. We believe, and we have for a long time. And yet there's still this nagging thing where we don't feel valuable or don't feel fulfilled and still sense this emptiness. And it's like, I don't think I'm supposed to feel like that. As a Christian, I know that something's off. And so I want to have a conversation about searching today. And I just think this is such an important conversation for us. And my hope, as we explore the story of Nathanael and Philip and these other guys, is that we would find hope and find some answers and understand what it is that we're searching for and what it is that will really fill us up. So here's where we're headed. The story of Nathanael is what we're going to explore, and it really unfolds in three parts. And part one of this story is called The Search. And if you want to follow along in your Bible, like I said, John 1, we're going to start in verse 43. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. So as we said, he was at the Jordan River, recently been baptized. He's got these three guys with him. And he says, fellas, it's time to go. We're headed to Galilee. He's beginning his public ministry. Then finding Philip, he said to him, follow me. So there was three, now there's four. And we read in verse 44, Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. These guys are all from the same small fishing village. In fact, this name Bethsaida, as far as I understand it from the original language, it means house of fishing or fish town. So those of you who are in real estate, that's a tough one to sell. You'll love it here once you get used to the smell. So there's four guys now, and Jesus says, let's get going. It's time to go to Galilee. We're going to start, he's going to start his public ministry, and Philip says, hold up. There's somebody else that we need to bring along. Philip found Nathanael, and he told him, we have found the one that Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. He says, Nathanael, we've found him. We have found the one that we've been looking for. These guys are searching, and Philip believes that he's found the one. But the question is, why are they searching? What is going on that is causing them to be looking for this one? What's going on? Why are they searching? And to answer that question, I need to show you a map. So here's a map of the Mediterranean world during the time of Jesus. This lightly colored area that's all around the Mediterranean Sea, that's the Roman Empire. This is the land, these are the lands that they have conquered and that they now control. I just want you to notice how huge this empire is. Now, way down in the bottom right, there's this yellow spot, tiny little place called Israel. And this is where most of the stories of our Bible take place. This is where Jesus was born, where he lived most of his life. This is where Philip, Nathanael, these other guys are all from. And I just want you to see the contrast of how huge the Roman Empire is and how tiny Israel is. And Israel is yellow, but only to show you the size of it. It is part of the Roman Empire. Israel belongs to Rome. It's part of their empire. And these young men, they hated this. They hated being part of the Roman Empire. Second image here. This is the temple in Jerusalem. The area that's circled, temple proper, and the area surrounding it is the expansion that Herod the Great built. Now, this temple is just so important for the Jewish people. This is the center of their lives. It's the center of their faith. They believed that God himself dwelled in the most holy place of this temple. And in that most holy place were the 10 commandments that reminded them this covenant that they had with God, where God said, I will be your God, and you will be my people, and this is what it looks like to be my people. So here stands a physical reminder that you are special, that you are God's chosen people. Now, if we move the circle over to the right, this is not a Jewish building. And it's not part of the temple compound. It's a Roman building. It's called the Fortress Antonia, and it's a fort. It's a garrison. This is where the Romans kept their soldiers so that they could keep control of this colony. And so here stands a physical reminder that you are special and you are God's chosen people. And here stands a physical reminder that you are not special. You are insignificant. You're nothing more than a third-rate colony of a world superpower. And these young men absolutely hated this. The one thing that they wanted more than anything else in life was for the Romans to be gone, for them to be defeated and kicked out, and for Israel to be this independent, respected nation under their God once again. And so when Philip shows up and he says, look, we found the one, Nathanael, the one that Moses wrote about and the one that the prophets wrote about. It's this Jesus from Nazareth. He's referencing these prophecies from the Jewish scriptures. Moses and the prophets, they wrote about this one who was to come in the future, and they called this one the Messiah. And these young men believed that this Messiah would come like a conquering hero, like a military Messiah, defeat the Romans, kick them out, and that Israel would be independent once again. And so they were searching and they were looking for this one thing that they believed could change everything, and that for them was this military Messiah. Now, we're having this conversation today about searching and how we look around and what it is that we're looking for. And for these guys, it was this military Messiah. That's the one thing that they believed could change everything. But can I ask you a question? And can I ask you to be honest about this with yourself? In your life, what is the one thing that you believe could change everything? That one thing that you think, this could change everything in my life right now. And maybe for you, it's money. And it's not a greed thing. It's just simply, if we had more money, we could actually pay all these bills and do some things that we want to do as a family. Maybe it's money. That's the one thing. And maybe it's success with a project you have going or this business that you've started. But if this thing succeeds, it could change everything for me. And maybe it's just recognition. I just want to be recognized for my talent, for my skills, for who I am and what I bring. That could change everything for me. And maybe it's not the one thing, but the someone who could change everything for you, and you're just waiting for this person to come into your life, this person that you could spend the rest of your life with. Maybe it's a person that you believe could change everything for you. Now, a second question, what would you do if a good friend of yours came to you and said, listen, I have found that one thing that you're looking for? For example, a friend comes to you and says, listen, I met this person and they are perfect for you. I mean, perfect match. Listen, I am setting you up on a date with this person. You're going, just trust me on this. Or a friend comes to you and says, listen, there's a job that just opened up at our company and it is perfect for you and your skills. I mean, and this company is not like where you work now. It is a great place to work. They value people. They promote from the inside. You got to apply for this position. I'm guessing that you would probably say, wow, thank you. Man, thanks for thinking of me. I appreciate you looking out for me. I will look into this. I really appreciate you coming to me with this. And this is essentially what Philip is doing for Nathanael. He stops and says, wait, there's another person that needs to know this. He goes to his buddy. He's like, dude, we found the one that we've been looking for, the one that can change everything. It's Jesus from Nazareth. And Nathanael says, wow, thanks. So grateful that you came to me. This is amazing news. No, that's not at all what he says. Check this out. It's Jesus of Nazareth. And Nathanael says, Nazareth? Can anything good come from there? Philip, are you kidding me? Nazareth? Really? That's what you think? That's where you think the Messiah is going to come from? Wrong. Wow, rude, right? Like Philip goes out of his way to include Nathanael, and this is how Nathanael responds to him. What is going on here? What is Nathanael's problem with Nazareth? Well, to answer this question, we got to talk about Israel for a second. Now, the biggest city in Israel was a place called Jerusalem. You've probably heard of it. It's a huge city. It was the capital city, center of commerce, center of culture. This is where the temple was. This is where the palaces of the kings had been. I mean, Jerusalem is like the best part, the best side of Israel. It's the respectable part of Israel. Now, Nazareth, tiny little village in the region of Galilee. And what you have to know about Galilee is it's not the respectable part of Israel. It's more like the backwoods hillbilly part of Israel. And Nathanael has a problem with this. And what's funny, check out this map. Here's Nazareth in the region of Galilee. Bethsaida, where a lot of these guys are from, this fishing village, it's on the north end of the Sea of Galilee. It's in Galilee. And even Cana, Nathanael's hometown, is in Galilee. This guy is ripping on his hometown. He's ripping on his home turf. What is his problem? It's like people from Lowell making fun of Saranac. It's like people from Caledonia ripping on people from Middleville. It's like, it's all the same territory. Now, before you get offended, I'm from Caledonia, okay? It's all right. What is his problem here? This is what I believe is happening. Jerusalem, now that's the respectable part of Israel. Jerusalem, now that's where a conquering king would come from. The Messiah is gonna come from Jerusalem, not from Nazareth, Philip. Don't be ridiculous. This is a dangerous line of thinking because the truth is Jesus is in fact the Messiah and Jesus is in fact from Nazareth. Nathanael is dead wrong on this and he's searching for the one in the wrong place. And this is dangerous because he could miss his chance to meet the one that he's been searching for his whole life because he's searching in the wrong place. And this is a reality that's not just true for Nathanael, but it's also true for all of us. There is a danger in searching in the wrong places because searching in the wrong places can cost you the very thing that you're trying to find. It makes me think of a middle-aged guy. He's been part of this company for decades, and it's going really well. It's promotion after promotion after promotion. The rumors in the office are like, I think this guy, I think he's gonna be taking over for the boss man when he finally retires. I mean, this guy is crushing it at the office. And he's a husband, he's a father, and he has provided plenty of money for the family. But not without cost. Because he's had to bail on a bunch of dates with his wife. He's missed so many family dinners, so many bedtimes. Saturday soccer games, he's rarely there. If you were to ask this guy, dude, what's driving you here? What's causing you to push so hard at the office? He would say, listen, I'm just trying to provide something for my family that I never had growing up. Security. I want my family to feel secure. But the problem is, because the money is there, but he's not there, what he's actually creating in his family is insecurity. Insecurity in the relationships between him and his kids and him and his wife. You see, when we go searching in the wrong places, it can cost us the exact thing that we're searching for. And this girl, the breakup just blindsided her. I mean, she did not see it coming. It sent her into a tailspin, and now she's She's making decisions and doing things that she really never thought that she would do. You see, she's going out on the weekends and then coming home with different guys. She's hooking up. If you were to ask her, what's going on here? Like, what's motivating these decisions? She would say deep down, I just want to be with somebody. I'm looking for companionship. I just want to feel connected. But of course, the way that this is playing out in her life, she finds herself in this space where she's never felt more disconnected. Because when you go searching in the wrong places, it can cost you the very thing that you're trying to find. And we have this phrase, right? When life gets stressful and overwhelming and crazy, we say, man, I need a drink, right? But for her, it's become drinking to the point of intoxication, and it's become a regular thing. And if you were to ask her deep down, what's going on here? She would just say, I drink because I need some moments of peace where I can just escape from this craziness and just have some peace. But what's happening in her life is chaos because of the drinking, chaos in her personal life, chaos in her family. She wants peace, but instead she's getting chaos because when you go searching in the wrong places, it can cost you the very thing that you're trying to find. And guys, if I could just say something to you for a second. When we click on these sites that we should not be clicking on, and we click, what are we doing? I think deep down, we're looking for a few moments where we feel alive. We just feel alive. But those of us who have found ourselves stuck in that darkness called pornography would say, this leads to feeling so dead on the inside. Because when you go searching in the wrong places, it can cost you the very thing that you're searching for. And so maybe you're here this morning, and maybe we're exploring the story of Nathanael just because you need to stare this thing in the face and just recognize, man, I am beginning to search in the wrong places, and this could cost me something that I dearly care about. And I just hope the story of Nathanael maybe is a wake-up call for some of us. I need to turn around. I need to move in a different direction here. And so Philip, he comes to Nathanael and he says, look, we found the one. It's Jesus of Nazareth. And Nathanael says, no way, man, not Nazareth. That's not where the Messiah comes from. But what happens next is so interesting because Philip says to him, you don't believe? Just come and see. Come and see. Come see for yourself. And Nathanael actually goes. Now, why would he do this? He doesn't believe. He doesn't believe that this guy would be the Messiah, but he goes anyway. I think his unhappiness with what's going on around him, his discontent with his situation has led him to a place where he says, my unhappiness outweighs my skepticism. And he says, essentially, what the heck? I'll give this Jesus guy a shot. And I just recognize that maybe that's what you're doing here today. This Jesus thing, I'm not sure I buy it. This church thing, it's kind of weird. But my unhappiness with what's going on in my life and my discontent with what's going on inside of me has me here saying, what the heck? I'll give this Jesus guy a shot. And if that's you today, I'm so glad that you're here. And I think you're gonna like what happens in the rest of this story. Because Nathanael goes. He goes to see Jesus, and this brings us to part 2 of the story of Nathanael. It's the encounter with Jesus. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, here truly is an Israelite in whom there's no deceit. What a strange greeting, right? He sees him coming down the road. Here is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. What is he saying here? I think he's describing Nathanael and his personality. Here's a guy who's a straight shooter. Here's a guy who doesn't sugarcoat the truth. Here's a guy that just says what comes to his mind, doesn't mince words. And beyond that, I think he's identifying in Nathanael a fault that he has. He can be abrasive. He can say some rude things that go back to the conversation that just happened. We found him. Nazareth, This guy hurt some feelings, I think. I think he ruffled some feathers, and if you were from his hometown, you maybe didn't love talking to this guy. And Jesus identifies his personality, he identifies his faults, and Nathanael is walking to meet this guy, and he just stops in his tracks. And listen to what he says, "How do you know me? How do you know me so well?" He says, "This guy has got me nailed." Stops him in his tracks. "How do you know me?" And I think this is a scene that deep down all of us long for, that all of us desire, because we all have within us this deep longing to be known and to be understood and to be accepted and to be loved. That's why we just treasure moments when somebody reveals how much they know us. "How did you know that Gerbera daisies are my favorite flower? How did you know that? I can't believe that you remembered that today is the anniversary of my mom's passing. How did you know that?" It's like the pivotal scene of every romantic comedy movie that's ever happened. There's a girl and there's a guy. He's so into her and she's like, "I don't know." And then there's this scene where he says, "You have 5 smiles. One when you think somebody's really funny, one when you think they're an idiot, one when you're getting dressed up, one when you're singing Barry White, and one when you're talking to me." And we're watching this movie and we go, "Oh my goodness, how cheesy is this movie?" But there's this other side of us that's just like, "I want somebody to love me like that." Because we all have this deep longing inside of us to be known, to be understood, to be accepted and loved. And Nathanael in this moment is getting his first experience with Jesus, and he says, "How do you know me? How do you know me?" And I believe that the longings in our heart to be known, the desires in our heart to be understood, point us to Jesus. Because nobody knows us like Jesus, the one who created us, the one who gave us our personalities, the one that knit together our bodies, the one that has watched every move of our lives, not dispassionately from a distance, but like a father watching their child take their first steps and say their first words. I just believe that those longings in your heart to be known and to be understood, they're pointing you to the one that you were created to have a relationship with. And Nathanael is having his first experience with this Jesus, and he just says, "How do you know me so well?" And it stops him right in his tracks. But what happens next absolutely floors him. Jesus answered, "How do I know you? I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." I saw you before you even had this conversation with Philip. And Nathanael's thinking, he saw where I was coming from. He's been watching me. And then Jesus throws in, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree." What's up with the fig tree? Why didn't he say, "I saw you in your living room," or "I saw you at the market"? What's this deal about the fig tree? This is significant. This is a symbol. Essentially, it's something that would have meant, well, it means nothing to us, but it meant everything to Nathanael. This is a picture of a fig tree. It's huge, tons of shade. It's great to have in your yard in first century Israel because the summer's hot and obviously you don't have air conditioning. But more than this, it's a messianic symbol. And what does that mean? Okay, messianic, same root word as Messiah. This is a symbol of the Messiah. So when Philip says to Nathanael, "We found the one that Moses wrote about and the one that the prophets wrote about," there are all these prophecies in the Jewish scriptures that point forward to this one, this Messiah. And often in these prophecies, there would be symbols that represent the Messiah. And now I want to take you to a passage from the prophet Zechariah. This is found in the tail end of your Old Testament. And we read this: "I'm going to bring my servant the branch." And when he says the branch, he's talking about the Messiah. It's just another way to describe the Messiah. "And I will remove the sin of this land in a single day." Now, these young men, they probably wouldn't have understood what these last 2 lines mean, but we, with the luxury of being on the other side of the Jesus story, can look back and say, This is when Jesus went to a Roman cross and he gave his life to pay for the sin. He removed the sin of the land in a single day. This passage is pointing to this Messiah. And then if we move forward to verse 10, we read, in that day. So this is what it's going to be like when the Messiah comes. In that day, each of you will invite your neighbor to sit under your vine, and here it is, fig tree, declares the Lord Almighty. It's this fig tree, it's this image, it's a symbolic image of the Messiah that's attached to this prophecy. And all I can say to you is that Jesus picked this image on purpose, and it absolutely floored Nathanael. He knows me, he knows my personality, he knows where I've been, and then he references this Messiah symbol. He's basically saying, I am the one that you're searching for, Nathanael, which is why Nathanael responds in this way. Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. He shows up believing Nazareth, no way. In the way that Jesus reveals how much he knows about him, and then the way that Jesus reveals himself to Nathanael, he just, moment of clarity, boom, I believe. I believe that you're the one, you're the Son of God, you're the King of Israel. And in this moment of clarity, he just believes. And these few moments, I think, capture the story of so many of us. We were searching, we felt empty, and we ran into Jesus and we discovered this one that knows us better than we know ourselves and loves us. And we had this fig tree-like moment, and maybe for you it was a sermon like this in a church somewhere. Maybe it was a summer camp. Maybe you were reading the scriptures for yourself. Maybe it was the story, the testimony of a friend or a family member, and you just said, I believe that Jesus is the Son of God. And maybe for others of you, this series is this moment. Week after week, as we explore and encounter with Jesus and who this person becomes clearer and clearer to you. Maybe during this series, it just clicks and you say, I believe that Jesus is the one that I'm searching for. And Jesus celebrates with Nathanael. He says, you believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that. You believe because I revealed myself to you. You're going to see greater things than this. And Nathanael says, I know I'm going to see greater things because you're going to defeat Rome. And I'm going to be with you, and Rome's going to be kicked out, and then you're going to be the king, and you're going to rule over this nation, and we're going to be independent and free once again. Rome's going to be out of here. I know I'm going to see greater things than this. And Jesus says, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not why I came. And this brings us to the third part of the story, the surrender. And Jesus begins to tell this story to Nathanael, old story from the Jewish scriptures that Nathanael would have recognized, a story about Jacob. This guy, the 12 sons, the 12 tribes of Israel, God changes his name to Israel later in his life. The Jacob who betrayed his brother, lied, stole the birthright, and then took off because his brother wants to kill him. And then along the way on his journey, he stops for the night and he falls asleep and he has this dream. And this is the story that Jesus is telling Nathanael. Jacob is sleeping and he sees this stairway go all the way up to heaven. And at the top, heaven is open. And he sees angels ascending and descending on the stairway. And those of you who grew up in church are like, okay, I remember this story now from children's church or whatever it was. And those of you who didn't grow up in church are going, I did not know that Led Zeppelin was in the Bible. Classic rock jokes, you gotta throw one in. So Jacob has this dream, he sees this stairway, and then he wakes up and he's tripping out, he's freaking out. And what he says is so important here. Jacob awoke from his sleep and he thought, surely the Lord is in this, and I just need your help, this is important. In this what? Place. And I was not aware of it. And he continues, he was afraid and he said, how awesome is this what? Place. This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. He's freaking out. He's like, God is here. God is in this place. This place is God's house. This place is the gate of heaven. And this is the story that Jesus chooses to tell Nathanael as he tries to reveal to Nathanael who he is and what he's really about. But Jesus changes one important detail. This is Jesus telling. Then he added, "Very truly I tell you, you will see heaven open," same dream, "and angels ascending and descending on the," what does it say? Son of Man. He replaces stairway with Son of Man. Who's the Son of Man? This is a title that Jesus uses to refer to himself. And so in Jacob's story, it goes like this. Surely God is in this place. How awesome is this place? And in Jesus' story, it's surely God is in this person. And how awesome is this person? Jacob says, this is the house of God. This place is the house of God. In Jesus' version, this person is the house of God. This Jesus is God. And Jacob says, this place is the gate of heaven. And Jesus says, I am the gate of heaven. Nathanael, you're here because you think I'm gonna defeat Rome. Listen, that's not why I'm here. I am here to defeat death. And I am here to defeat sin. And I am here to open up this gate to heaven so that people can be restored to relationship with their Creator. I am here to fix this brokenness inside of you that causes you to go searching and seeking and looking for something that's gonna fill you up and fix this brokenness. I'm not here to defeat Rome. I'm here to do something so much bigger, so much better than that. And Nathanael, I need you to surrender your plan for my plan. And Nathanael listens to this and just right over his head. And the other disciples, they don't get it. They don't understand. They think it's all about Rome. In a moment like this, as we read this story, it's just so tempting to go like, what a bunch of knuckleheads. I mean, come on. Jesus is right there explaining it to you, and he will explain it again and again and again, and these guys are like, Rome, man, it's all about Rome, and they never understand it. Knuckleheads. That's the temptation. But what's so much more helpful is for us to just say, man, I do that. I do that. I get so set on my plan and my agenda, my career, what I want to do with my life. And yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I sort of just kind of bring him along on my plan. And when things don't work, I'm like, hey, can you fix this? And we do the same thing that Nathanael does. And Jesus is saying, listen, I need you to surrender your plan. I need you to surrender your agenda. I need you to surrender that one thing that you think is going to change everything and stop finding yourself in that and start finding yourself in me. As Pastor Jeff often says so clearly, we don't follow Jesus to get where we're going. We follow him to get where he's going. It's about surrendering our plan for his plan. So how does this story end up for Nathanael? Well, he doesn't get it. For 3 years of following Jesus, he doesn't get it. The other disciples, they don't get it. I mean, when Jesus is arrested, the night before he's gonna die, Peter's got a sword. He's like, it's time for battle. It's time to defeat the Romans. They never get it until they witness Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection for themselves. But I just recognize that here today, you might be sitting here and it's been years that you've been circling around these issues of searching and surrender. And I just gotta ask you, how long are you gonna keep doing this? How long are you gonna keep chasing this thing that you believe is gonna change everything? How long are you gonna keep running after this thing that keeps burning you, that keeps leaving you empty, that is not filling up the emptiness that you feel? How long are you gonna keep chasing this thing? Because Nathanael had to recognize, and I think we all need to recognize that It's about surrendering to him. And so Nathanael shows up and he's searching for the one. But what he discovers is this Jesus that knows everything about him. He discovers that the one he's been searching for, well, he's been searching for him. And Nathanael thinks he's going to find him and discovers instead that what's actually happening is that he himself is being found by the one that's been pursuing him. And what if this is true for us? What if the one that you're searching for is searching for you? What if your heart is wired for your Creator, for a relationship with him, and nothing else that you're pursuing will ever satisfy your heart until you come home to him, until you surrender your life to him? And Nathanael believes, says, you're the Son of God, you're the King, but he clings to his own plan. He clings to his own agenda. He clings to his own idea because he believes that the end of his searching will come when he gets the desires of his heart, when he gets what he believes will make him truly happy. But that is not the end of the search. The search ends when we surrender. And so I would just plead with you, that emptiness will not go away until we surrender our lives to Jesus, because the end of searching is not the fulfillment of the desires of your heart. The end of searching is surrendering to the one who's searching for you. I'd love to pray for you as we close, and after I pray, I'm going to invite room hosts and campus pastors in each of our environments to share a few final words with you. Let's pray together. God, thank you for this time. And thank you for your scriptures that just reveal so much about who you are, about your heart for us, and just also what's going on inside of us. And I just recognize that many of us today, this is not just some theoretical issue, but it's real. This search, this desire to fill up this emptiness inside of us. And God, I just pray that you would reveal yourself, make yourself real to us, and that we would just begin to find ourselves in you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for your Son. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.